Have you ever stopped to think about one of the biggest mysteries right in front of us? What is the actual fundamental difference between something that's alive and something that just isn't? Today, we're going to unravel that very blueprint for survival.
I mean, really, what separates a rock from a rabbit? It's obviously more than just fluff and a twitchy nose. The real answer is deep inside. It's this hidden, constantly running engine that every single living thing has.
You know, on the surface, the difference seems pretty simple. Living things do stuff. They grow, they move, they react to the world around them. A rabbit does all of this, right? A rock? Not so much. But these are just the results we see. What's actually powering it all?
Well, to really get it, we've got to pop the hood and look inside. All those actions we just mentioned, growing, moving, responding, they're all driven by a much deeper, more essential set of functions, and these are what scientists call life processes.
And there you have it. That's the real answer to our rabbit and rock puzzle. Life processes are the absolute, non-negotiable jobs an organism has to do 24/7 just to stay in the game. They are the very definition of the engine of survival.
Now, here's the really cool part. This incredibly complex machine we call life, which seems like it would have a million moving parts, it really boils down to just four. Four main functions that basically write the rulebook for being alive.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to dive into each one of these four essential functions: nutrition, respiration, transportation, and finally excretion. And you'll see how they all lock together to form this perfect, endlessly running loop.
Okay, so where does it all kick off? Well, like any good engine, it starts with fuel. And that's where our first two processes come in. Think of nutrition and respiration as the ultimate power couple working together to get fuel in and, more importantly, turn it into real power.
First up is nutrition. This is pretty straightforward. It's the fuel in step. It's like a car pulling into a gas station. An organism has to take in food, which is packed with all the raw materials it needs, not just for energy, but for building new parts and fixing what's broken.
Right. So the fuel is in the tank, but a car full of gas is just a heavy piece of metal until you actually start the engine, right? So how does that food, that fuel, become the energy that lets us do, well, everything?
And that is where respiration steps in. This is the moment the engine roars to life. Respiration is the amazing chemical process that actually unlocks the energy that's been stored in the food. It converts it into a special molecule that acts like the universal energy currency for pretty much all life. This is the spark that powers the whole machine. So you can see, these two are really just two sides of the same coin. Nutrition is all about getting the fuel. Respiration is about burning that fuel to get the energy. You simply can't have one without the other. It's a perfect partnership.
Okay, so we've got our fuel and we've converted it into energy. Great, but now we have a whole new challenge, a logistics problem. How do you get all those amazing nutrients and all that energy to every single tiny part of the body that needs it? And what do you do with all the garbage that gets created along the way?
Think about it like a huge, bustling city. For the city to work, you need roads and couriers and delivery trucks to make sure every single house gets what it needs: food, water, electricity. Well, the body is exactly the same. It needs a super efficient internal delivery network.
And that network is the transportation system. This process is basically the body's internal highway system. It's responsible for carrying all the good stuff, the food from nutrition, the oxygen needed for respiration, to exactly where it needs to be, ensuring every last cell gets its delivery on time. Of course, any city that's working well doesn't just have delivery trucks, it also has garbage trucks, right? All of these amazing processes, they create waste. And if you let all that trash pile up on the streets, the whole city would grind to a halt pretty fast. This is where excretion plays its absolutely vital role. It's the body's sanitation department. Its job is to collect all the toxic, harmful junk that's produced by all this activity and get it out of the system before it causes any damage. Turns out taking out the trash is just as important as getting the groceries.
So let's just zoom out for a second. We've looked at the four key parts of the machine: fueling up, creating power, delivering the goods, and cleaning up the mess. But what's the big picture here? Why is this specific four-part blueprint so incredibly important for the very idea of life itself?
Well, it really all comes down to this. These four processes work together in perfect sync to achieve these critical goals. They make the energy we need to live. They build and repair our bodies. They keep the system from getting poisoned by its own waste, and they keep everything inside stable and balanced. In short, they are what allow a living thing to survive and, well, keep on living.
And that, right there, is the biggest takeaway of all.
This isn't just some random list from a biology textbook. These 4 functions, nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion, are the literal operating system for life. This system is what makes the rabbit a rabbit and the rock a rock.
And so we're left with this final thought. We've just gone through the incredibly elegant, mechanical how of staying alive. But doesn't it just make you wonder about an even bigger question? If this complex 4-part engine is how life works, what's the ultimate why?